When it comes to cutting down hordes of enemies and collecting shiny loot, there is no genre better suited than the action RPG, and today, we're heading to space to check out a brand new early access game that looks to put its mark on the gaming universe. Hey there friends, it's Codiak here, one half of the team behind Legacy Gaming, and today, we're diving in to find out if Space Punks is worth your time. I love indie games. It's as simple as that. Small teams proving that they can create something fun and engaging, oftentimes rivaling AAA titles when it comes to gameplay and storytelling. Flying Wild Hog may not be a household name, but the studio has been around for over a decade, and while their biggest claim to fame is the Shadow Warrior series, it's this new title, Space Punks, that may very well carry them into the future. As always, let's break it down from a 30,000-foot view. Space Punks is a twin-stick style action RPG set in a sci-fi universe. At first glance, it looks like a hybrid between Diablo and Borderlands, but the truth is, Space Punks is its own thing. You take control of one of 4 characters, each with their own unique abilities and look. They each bring something different to the table and excel at a different aspect of combat. I chose to play as Bob, a stringy alien creature that reminds me of something straight out of Men in Black. Eventually, I unlocked Eris, a badass chick who somehow biohacked her body, and Finn, a cyborg pig fella. I do wish I could have played all 4 characters, but there is a premium currency called character shards that prevented me from unlocking them all during my time with the game. You do accumulate these shards over time just by playing, which is good, but I do feel like it's an unnecessary inconvenience, especially if they choose to monetize it down the line, and signs indicate that they are. I should take this time to point out that Space Punks has a pretty interesting monetization plan. The base game isn't priced at this moment, but there are 2 Founder Styles packs that you can purchase to get into early access on July 14th. They do also plan on giving away a bunch of free keys on their various social platforms. If you decide to pay, you'll unlock all 4 characters from the get-go and gain a host of cosmetic items. You'll also get in on the first season's Battle Pass. That's right, an ARPG with a Battle Pass. It's a bit odd, but that's just because you don't see it very often for this genre. From what I can tell, all the premium currency stuff is cosmetic, so that is a good thing. But enough about that nonsense, let's talk about the gameplay. The first hour or so of the game was a bit slow. I would accept a quest, drop into a mission, overpower a handful of enemies, and then claim my prize. I was left wondering, is that it? And that question stuck around until about the 3-hour mark when things started to get a bit more chaotic. If you've ever played Helldivers, you know the pure joy of a twin-stick sci-fi game, and eventually, we got close to that with Space Punks. Once I had unlocked a few abilities and my guns were able to chew through enemies, I enjoyed the cathartic experience of exploring, killing, and looting the hundreds of enemies that were thrown my way. The further I progressed, the more enemies I encountered, but it wasn't until I could crank the difficulty up to hardcore on some of the filler missions before I really started to enjoy my time with the game. The good news is, the gameplay loop is solid. The not so great news is that it's definitely lacking when it comes to depth. That's understandable though, since we were given earlier access to an early access game that's meant to evolve over time. I mean, as soon as you log in, you're met with a screen that talks about the things the developers plan to work on throughout early access, so let's not pretend that doesn't exist, because I think it should help inform the conversation. There are a lot of things moving in the right direction for the game. For starters, the combat, which is incredibly intuitive, from the various dodge rolls to the impact of each individual gun. Level design isn't bad either. I don't know if it's procedurally generated or not, but I never felt like I was playing the exact same map, even though there are definitely some diversity issues when it comes to the way each level feels. The sameness of each planet is definitely something the developers will want to address if they have the bandwidth, because even though each mission has a slightly different task, the fact that every mission on the same planet looks and feels the same way makes it play the same way. This is kind of a bummer considering the fact that the combat is really strong. The unique character abilities are fun and the gunplay is right on the money. And while those things are really good, it's not enough to hold the game together when the world and the missions don't quite reach that same mark. In terms of missions themselves, they're pretty on par from what you'd expect. wipe out the big bad, restart some mining equipment, set up a relay, lots of sci-fi stuff, and there's a good foundation from which they can build on. I also want to point out that I wasn't able to do 2 of the game modes, which required a full party of 4, which was just impossible for content creators who were exploring the game in early access. The final thing in terms of combat that I want to point out are the enemies, which don't quite hit the mark. There's variety there, but not a lot, and while you're supposed to be able to cut through them easily, something is off. In most games like this, each enemy has a function, whether it be to overwhelm, distract, attack from a distance, and I think leaning harder into this will make the combat feel more dynamic. I honestly believe Flying Wild Hog is going in the right direction, but they need to lean into the extreme edges of each of these systems because right now the game feels like it's simply playing it too safe. Again, that's not bad foundationally for an early access game, and Spacepunks is well ahead of 90% of the early access garbage that comes out nowadays. But the question is, can they capitalize and can they evolve? The simplicity trickles down to nearly every system in the game, from the incredibly boring and basic vendor to the crafting system. Both function well enough, and crafting is definitely a step ahead, albeit still not perfect. You get a blueprint, weave in a couple other components, and boom, you have an item. But it's really not a shining feature of the game like it could or should be. The same could be said for the talent system, which looks impressive, but really isn't. Nodes, for the most part, are simply stat boosts that don't really force you to make real decisions. I'm personally not a fan of point dump talent trees. I'd rather make fewer, more calculated decisions than just blindly filling up a tree until I'm an overpowered beast. In this case, more isn't better, and the system feels just a bit outdated. Because I feel like I'm on the verge of rambling just a bit too much here, this is what I'll say about Spacepunks. The game has a really solid foundation. The things that matter the most, the combat, gunplay, and the world design, are on really strong footing, but all the other things need to be pumped up to that level. If you're going to go for over-the-top action, I want over-the-top everywhere. That doesn't mean hokey, it just means I want my experience dialed up to 11 wherever possible. Spacepunks is on the right track, and if you played games like Helldivers or Alienation, you'll get it. If you haven't played those games, bottom line, Spacepunks is okay, but it won't blow you away quite yet. This is a great first showing for Flying Wild Hog, but now it's up to them to stay on the grind, listen to the community, and make the game even better. So there you have it, friends, our worth your time review of Spacepunks. This is an early access game, so please understand that things are going to change. But hopefully now you have a better sense of the world, the systems, and of course the gameplay. While we aren't a review channel, we love talking about good games. So if you want more worth your time videos in your feed, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe. The only way to break into the YouTube algorithm is with your help, and with just a couple clicks, you can make that happen. We also invite you to join us on Discord. We've got a great community of nearly 7,000 spread across dozens of great games, but there's always room for a few more. Check out the link below to join today. Finally, if you like everything we stand for here at Legacy Gaming and you want to help us out even more, you can now do so by becoming a member. For the cost of a cup of coffee, you're helping evolve the channel and take our community to that next level. Check out the join button below to learn more. My name is Codiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.